online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzz, and welcome to Legend of Tomorrow, episode Pilot 2. I'm Roxy Striar, and I have an amazing dancing panel next to me. A little intense on that side. Starting over here, we got Lex Michael.
That is me, Lex Michael, all over social media, at the Lex Michael.
Dave Child.
And I'm at MR Dave Child.
And Frank Moran.
And I'm at Happy Go Jackie.
Guys, weirdest dance moves I've ever seen. Ready? Strike some weirder ones. We could totally be in the 70s. Oh, that one is like a doll went wrong and like got stuck in a...
Yeah, that's my doll went wrong move. That's my big doll went wrong dance.
You guys know we're here at AfterBuzz TV. You can find us everywhere at AfterBuzzTV.com, on YouTube, on iTunes, which, by the way, if you're on iTunes, make sure you give us that 5-star and write a comment.
That sweet 5-star.
Yeah, I love looking at that 5-star.
Come on and do sweet dance moves. Just come on in that.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, thumbs up is nice too. You know, we like the thumbs up, we like the 5 stars.
We love retweets, we love faves, whatever you got. But you know, those 5 stars, they're great.
All right, guys, across the board, what do we think about Pilot Part 2?
This show is so much fun. That's my big thing. Like, yeah, there are some things that I'm sure we'll talk about where we can nitpick here and there, but overall, this is an insanely fun show. And we were talking about briefly before we got on the mic, for me at least, it's been a day. I'm very tired. I'm very stressed out.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a day for a lot of people. We really need some love today.
You and I, Roxy, talked about just before we went live, really wanting to take today and just kick today in the teeth really hard 6 or 7 times. Mm-hmm. So
like they did tonight.
And so we get to this point in the day, and I can sit down and I can watch these sequences that we saw a couple of times in tonight's episode, where you see all of the legends fighting evil people using their powers, and you have this frame, these wide shots full of superpowered people using their superpowers, and it made my entire day a whole lot better.
Oh, I love when TV does that.
Yeah, I love the fighting sequences. It had what I wanted, where you got to see everyone fight in their different ways and bring out their powers in like all these different aspects. And you got some great team-ups in this episode. I like that we got to see, you know, what the villains were like when they're just hanging out with the Boy Scouts, with the Boy Scout. And I just, it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm really enjoying the show, but it's like I feel like I hold it to such a high standard that when there are moments like that I'm sure we'll talk about in this episode that happen, I feel like, oh, you guys can do better than this. You're doing great on other parts. So what's happening? Why you can't
started off really, really strong. You had like a great beginning. It kind of felt like they fell asleep as the movie went on, or as the show went on.
They needed some of your dance moves. They needed the expertise in there.
Everyone needs
like someone hovering in the writer's room doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm too uncomfortable to fall asleep now.
Yeah.
After we've now seen both parts of this pilot 1 and 2,
that's
if
confusing.
you guys got to elect one team or one person to be on your Legends of Tomorrow crew to help kick the day in the butt, who would you pick?
Ooh. Oh, I think I'll go with Ray. I think I'll go with Mr. Palmer there. Huh. Because I mean, he's like just a classic hero. And he also has he actually has probably the most powers, except for because he can shrink and he has a super suit and he can shoot things out of the super suit, and he gets to carry around a little action figure of himself, and whenever he wants to like turn into his superhero form, he just activates the action figure, which is kind of great.
In this show, that's cool. In real life, bringing around an action figure of yourself, known as a little crazy.
I mean, yeah, who would do that? I don't do that at all.
Yeah, no, never.
I don't have one in my pocket right now.
Your Dave Child action figure.
I don't have my little Dave in my pocket.
Oh my god.
Just giving me advice as the show goes on.
Idea that could make millions. Frank, what do you think?
I'd go with Martin Stein. I guess I'm only getting half of Firestorm, so I'm guess I'm not getting the regenerate. The
I
fusion.
said you could pick a team. You
All
could
right,
have
then,
picked all
yeah,
Firestorm.
I'll pick all of Firestorm. That's
Okay.
right. I mean, yeah, you got the action, then you got Martin Stein, who's just an awesome scientist. Yeah, figuring he can handle any of the scientific needs that
He's
I've
a
got.
little arrogant.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, they made sure we knew that this episode.
How many times did they use the word?
Yeah, maybe about 3 times. It's like, okay, yeah, we get it.
I heard you.
This was his kind of episode to shine, though. He really he pulled his weight in the whole team, which was kind of great to see. You got to see him be kind of a badass in the beginning and really show off name all these facts and really convince the guy to let them into the black market.
Yeah.
was
Lex, what
awesome.
about you?
Well, all right. So if you can get all of Firestorm, then I would say if I want help kicking anything in the teeth, it would be Snart and Rory easily.
Right.
Oh, yeah, you can pick them as a team. They even said it tonight. He said, I already have my, what did he say, partner?
I feel like they come as a unit, which is fantastic, and all
Yeah.
you need is one on your left and one on your right, and nobody really has to do anything. I guarantee that your problems in life drop significantly.
Well, I think they just become your problems in life.
That or the
'Cause
police.
they're pretty bad.
Yeah.
Guys,
Bad
I'm
guys.
picking Sarah.
Yeah.
She kicks butt.
Yeah.
I love her. She's looking a little crazy these days. I understand that she's had, a couple of bad Lazarus Pit days. That's
Yeah,
worse than a bad hair day. But she kills it.
Well, and to be fair, too, demonstrating the greatest possible efficiency, I think greater than anyone else in this episode, certainly. She shows up when they want to steal back the little piece of Ray's suit. Apparently, she's stoned off her ass, and it's still, in a minute, drops in, hits a few people, grabs it, says thanks, and leaves.
Oh, yeah. Pretty cool.
She gets the munchies for cans of whoop ass.
Ooh, that
TM.
I feel like it wasn't your best,
Oh,
but
it
that's
was
just
pretty
because you've
great.
set the bar so high so far.
We'll put that in the file.
That one was Little Dave's. That he told me to say that. That was. I shouldn't listen to my action figure.
Do you guys want to go to Norway in 1975 right now? Should we head over there?
Sure. Let's
Why
get
not?
on
Okay,
over.
Rider.
Let's take our wave rider there, everybody.
Get on the wave rider.
Wave rider.
All right, I feel like we're here now. Wow, guys, I have that nosebleed, and I feel like I could vomit and pass
To be fair,
out.
we
Well, you
didn't
didn't
just
travel
travel
through
through time.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That's just motion sickness.
You're right. And I like that they clarified that. Like, okay,
Yeah.
nobody's puking because we just moved places.
Right.
Nobody's traveling through time. So I guess I'll just wipe it away and we'll be all right. All right.
That's your own problems, is what we're saying. All the nose bleeding.
Definitely. I'm going to open this up with Damian Darhk. What?
Yeah, that was great.
Hasn't aged a day since 75.
Yeah.
Straight up.
I
The
also
white-haired man attacks.
I also like that he's just walking through the background when we first see him. There's no sting. There's no bump bump. Wah.
And if you haven't
He's
been
just
watching
there.
Arrow, you wouldn't know who this guy is.
Okay,
Right.
so for anybody who doesn't watch Arrow, want to fill them in for a second?
So Damian Darhk is the big bad of Arrow season 4, played by Neil McDonough, and he's the head of Hive, which is it is a hive of evil mercenaries that are they're servicing this plot, which at this point in the series season is still not entirely clear. We know it involves corn in some capacity, and we
Evil
know
corn.
Yeah, and we know that it's apparently very bad news for everybody, and that's
Yeah.
about it. But he is also imbued with these magical powers. There was a time where he was training with Ra's al Ghul in the League of Assassins.
Right.
He is, as far as we know, as immortal as Vandal Savage, and as we see, he's here in 75, and he looks the same.
Yeah, is this the first time we get a sense that he's maybe as immortal? Do we see that at all in Arrow? I forget.
It has been alluded to quite a bit, and we've
Okay.
certainly seen he can take a great deal of physical punishment and be fine. He seems to have a magical healing factor,
Yeah,
as
and
well as the ability to move things around by waving his hands.
Yeah, he can make things float. He's kind of has a Jedi-ness about him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the actor is really, really talented.
Oh,
and I
he's
love
great.
watching him. So it was cool that he signed on to being in Legends of Tomorrow for what seems like one episode, barely any. Oh, you think longer?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. I didn't really look into if he's supposed to make any more cameos, but they are introducing him as a guy that doesn't age and we see him through time, and they're going through time. So he's a guy that could come in and out.
Well, and we've talked about, too, that I believe they are going to be using the Matt Nable version of Ra's al Ghul at some point in this season, and it would just be... I mean, really, they've already done it by having Damian Darhk in this one episode and having Vandal Savage as the overarching big bad of the season, but the idea that you can have the big DC TV evil immortal trio together in one episode, that idea makes me very, very, very happy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was shocked when he popped up. I didn't read this anywhere, and my eyes had been open for it. So we all kind of like stared at each other, double take, like, what? What's he doing? Why does he want the nuclear weapon? What's going on? And then I realized that we're in the 70s, and it probably wasn't really going to affect what happened on Arrow as much.
After that, he's like, wait a minute. Maybe I can use corn. That's what he does after he's foiled there.
Yeah. This was cool to watch, though, because we saw how smart Vandal Savage is, and that he very quickly picked up, they're here. And there's that connection, and that he knew that these people were out of place. Every time, I don't know whether I just need to learn and pick this up quicker, but every time we see that, I'm like, they're screwed. Everybody's going to die. Like, all of our leads, they're all dying right now. But they managed to get their way out. So I believe that's what they call television.
Except for poor Khufu.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about him in a little bit. We'll get there. We make a big mistake, though. So we're at the nuclear selling of this nuclear device, which, Sarah, you George Bushed the hell out of that.
Nuclear.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
I never notice it. I even have like a nuclear engineer in my family, and it's never been a problem. So I never notice it. I think I pronounce it right, but I never notice it when people don't pronounce it. That's the one thing I could never be a geek about and be like, what? No.
I'm going to say it was a character choice.
Okay, yeah.
It's about her background.
To set her apart with the particle physicist that she's hanging out with.
Right, and she's still trying to, like, her brain's still coming back from the Lazarus pit.
Right.
There we go.
She's at George Bush level right now as far as her brain. It's going to get a little better.
That's my partner, everybody. That's who I picked. We make a mistake, though. So Adam, who is in the pocket of Martin Stein, comes out and somewhere along the way loses his little guy.
Little zappy thingy.
Yeah, loses his
zapper. Little zappy.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought that was a great move, and I thought it played off of like problems with time travel that I was happy to see. I felt like we're going through these great time travel tropes that I love. Like in the first part of the pilot, or first episode, we see a little bit of Bill and Ted.
One.
Yeah, pilot 1. This is pilot 2, which is weird. But in the first one, we see a little bit of the Bill and Ted, I have to go back in time and gather some heroes. And in this one, we get more of a back to the future. Like, we can't leave something behind. And also we see, as things change, things start to fade away, like Back to the Future. There's a lot of Marty and Doc thing, even though in this episode Doc and Marty is the same person.
Oh, my brain, kaboom! Oh, good night, everybody.
I know, that is crazy. So let's just talk about that scene. When we go there, everybody's kind of teaming off, and Sarah and Firestorm go to talk to Marty. They need to figure out, they need to get his tech to go to this. Marty very quickly recognized Martin Stein. Was like, do I know you? Do you guys feel like if you saw the future version of yourself, you would be that quick to recognize
I think
him?
I would think, are you my dad? Or are you related to my dad? I think it would be like, it seems like we're related somehow.
I feel
you would say that out loud? You would go up to somebody and say, are you my father?
Are you my dad?
Well, I just know
And give him the action figure?
I look a lot like my dad. So there is a thing where if I saw the future me and I was a kid, I would just be like, wait a second, you look a lot like my dad. That's what I would say to him. And then he would get creeped out.
I feel like I'd go up to future me and I'd say, when I look at you, I'm filled with this overwhelming sense of despair.
Yeah.
What has become of you?
I feel like I wouldn't look at the person twice. I would just be like, oh, that's somebody who looks older than me, also with brown hair and brown eyes. Like, there wasn't that much of a resemblance where you're thinking, oh my God, that's gotta be him.
Well, that's why I think it could be like a bit of a link to a family member. I feel like they might look familiar, but that's about it. So I understood him going like, you kind of look familiar. Who are you? Maybe we should smoke a doobie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I did love his line. Yeah. Let's go spark a doobie and talk about physics.
Rap about physics.
Oh yeah, rap. Look at that.
Damn.
I was
Stephen
already,
Hawking, Martin
scientist.
Stein, man.
I already told you guys, I warned you that I'm a lover of love and I'm a big shipper. Oh my God, Sarah and Marty would have made the cutest couple. Just saying. Thank God I'm on a panel of all like 3 guys right now, so that not every single person in the comments is like, "Oh my God, why is she talking about this?" You guys just rolled your eyes at me. Whatever, it's
No,
okay.
I mean that's fine, but it would mess up the time system, so you can't have it.
She was flirting her little butt off with him though.
Right.
I feel like she's kind of like the Captain Jack of the DC Legends.
Yeah.
She'll pretty much sleep with just about anybody.
Which is great for us.
Yes.
We need somebody like that. I need that as my partner. I'm like, sick 'em, girl. You got it. This was probably my favorite of the teams to go off.
Yeah.
Actually, I loved the Adam Captain Cold.
That stuff was
I
wonderful.
liked that a lot.
I really loved watching this, and I love how different Sarah is than the rest of Firestorm, and even how different they are, and watching them try to work together right now. What did you guys think about them finding the place that Marty had put whatever we want to call this contraption
The
that doesn't
flashlight,
exist?
the flashlight light finder, particle finder.
Particle tracker
See,
thing.
I'm so glad you just did that because I was avoiding sounding like that, and
Oh, I
you
don't
just
care.
yeah.
I just gotta embrace it. It's like the alpha
Particle.
Alpha particles.
particle, like tracker. I felt like I love that Martin was so taken aback by how he was in the past. I think he has this inflated view of himself, and meeting his younger self really kind of knocks him back a few pegs, which was really great to see. And you got to have White Canary kind of play with that.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's cool.
even the fact that it wasn't so much just seeing how he was back then, but that he really felt like he hadn't really grown and changed in that time. I feel like, wow, I thought I'd grown and changed, but now I realize I'm just acting just as much of an arrogant jerk as my younger self was.
I really just like that young Martin and White Canary are stoners.
Yeah.
That spoke to
it's the 70s.
This warmed my heart.
No,
Yeah.
it is cool because like we're going through the generations, we get to see different people's habits and hobbies. And I just call smoking pot a hobby?
Oh yeah,
sure,
it's
yeah.
a-
Yeah,
it's a hobby.
there's a culture associated
Sure.
with it.
Yeah.
I also like how Jax was smoking up too. You could get a sense too, because he was, when they came back, he was like, "We should have gotten donuts."
Yep.
You know, so you got
What about the fact though that Marty does eventually follow them back to the ship?
That I couldn't figure out because I thought
man.
they tracked it down to Vandal Savage's, like wherever his people were breaking down that device from Palmer. But then was that right next to Ivytown University? Because that seemed really convenient that all of a sudden he just shows right up there.
Yeah, I think, well, you see them walking across the field, and I think this was their first mistake. They opened up the door in the invisible ship when they were still across the field.
Where did
Right.
this giant opening in the field come from?
Yeah, so I bet like Marty looked outside and went, "What the hell?" And then he went out and he went in, and I couldn't. There's a couple. This is where the writing got a little bit strange for me in the episode, because for one, they bring him farther into the ship when they're
Yes.
like, "Oh no, you're in the ship.
Let's
Why
give
don't
you a
check
tour."
Out,
Yeah.
check out the pilot chair. You know, come on in."
This is Gideon.
Yeah. And then when they convince him to leave, we had to actually rewind it and rewatch it to see what they said to convince him to leave.
Yeah, see, that's the part that I have a harder time going with immediately. Like, I'll buy that he followed them, that they were that careless. They were all high. They were that careless, and he followed them back.
He was high and had a concussion, so maybe that's why.
But then maybe that is the only
Yeah.
reason why, like, he didn't question it too much when they said, "Okay, now you're gonna leave." He didn't protest because he was still coming down, starting to burn out a little bit, and he probably is head hurt.
So guys,
or I can
the chat wants to remind us, Cullen Prime, Marty had a tracker to track his other tracker guys,
Right.
which is
And they do, yeah.
which is true. But I
many
was surprised he
trackers does
got
he
up
have?
that quickly.
Right.
But whatever, he does get there. I just think that this messes with the timeline, even though they're like, it doesn't mess with the timeline. You know that these people came, they took your advice, you've seen the Wave Rider. Like, you're really telling me that you never thought about that again just because Martin Stein looked at you and said, don't even think about this again. Yeah, okay, let me just clear that from my memory then.
Yeah, I wish they brought out a little. All they really needed was to have Rip Hunter have a little Men in Black device to just kind of wipe someone's memory.
Right.
Which feels like what a Time Master should have.
I mean, that or if you keep the Rufalin with you,
Right.
you got to have some sort of
Could have.
pill. Like,
That could be
His thing.
Stein's thing. He's like, don't worry,
roofing young
I'll
people?
roofie my young self.
yeah, and then place him back where he was and be like, it was all a dream.
It was all a dream.
But
Just
that's
have
always the sketchy things with time travel stories, because when you go back and you meet yourself, you don't do anything to wipe your memories away or anything like that, then you would think that you would remember, like Jax. So we completely alter that episode where he has to
Right.
choose who he wants to bond with in the Firestorm Matrix. He wouldn't be so reluctant to bond with Jax because he knows that's who he bonds with in the future.
Right.
So I mean, that's always the sketchy thing when you do time travel
Well, I
stories.
get the sense that the time travel in this kind of universe is things could change a little bit, they just can't change a lot. So as long as he still has like a wife, and as long as he could know about probably a future self and still connect with Jack, still go on the same path to get on the ship to get back in time, and that doesn't mess up the timeline too much.
People in the chat are saying that Rip probably neutralized Marty later on, which
Right.
I don't know if that actually happened. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can join us live here at 9 p.m. on Thursdays, where we actually talk to you guys in the
Yeah.
YouTube chat. That's what I keep referencing.
I would say, though, like, the biggest rule in any time travel story seems to be don't think too much about the time travel
Yeah,
rule.
you're right. You know what? We gotta move on. from
And
that.
also, Rip, there is a moment, just before we move on, there is a moment where Rip says, oh, I contacted you about going to the thing, which it kind of means maybe he could have done a few other things during
Well,
that.
and I'm wondering, too, like, how shady was that encounter?
Right.
What, where he called Marty and told him to go to the faculty meeting?
Just any version of this conversation between Rip Hunter and young Marty that I can imagine is making me very uncomfortable.
Well, I was hoping maybe he pretended to be a faculty member
Right.
on the phone, like, "Hey, you should come. We really wanted to make sure that you are involved in this
Yeah.
year's da-da-da-da-da."
I hear
Right.
you have great, scientific findings, and I want to find out about these scientific findings.
That's what it
so
would
please
sound
come.
like.
Come
for sure.
tell me about your science.
I
Yeah.
was just briefly
Findings.
talking about other creepy things that Martin does. Talking to Jax and was like, "Meeting my wife was a great moment. Meeting you also."
That's
Very-
dude. You know
and
what?
like-
If we're talking about shipping, that's my big shipping moment. That's like I really hope they
But
fall
it's
in
like,
love more.
dude, we saw you roofie this boy,
Yeah.
and so now I get it. Like, it is
He's like
very.
a 17-year-old boy.
And it's like it is without the roofies. That may have played as like a very nice, very sweet step in their friendly, like maybe even paternal relationship. With the roofing, it plays creepy. And
Yeah.
my fear is that now every time that they
Interact.
or at least take a significant step towards like building a greater trust or a greater reliance on each other, that it's gonna play icky.
Okay, let's move on to a different ship.
Okay.
And I'm talking about the Hawk ship.
I was just going to mention the fact that I love that in order to activate the powers, they have to hold hands and turn into a giant flaming superhero. It's great.
Yeah. No,
Okay, let's move on.
You did it. You went there.
I went there and I'm enjoying
I'm
it.
just trying to read some old languages, okay?
That's my big shipping
That was
moment.
such a
I
good
hope they
segue
get
I
involved.
just did, right? That
Old
was
languages.
really
It's
strong.
definitely gonna get us from one point to another
Right.
point.
Speaking of old languages.
So the Hawk people, they find the newspaper article in their son's pocket, because that's where I keep all of my cutout newspaper articles.
In your dead son's pocket?
In my dead son's pocket, yeah. They were over that real quick, by the way. They pretended to not be in. They're like, "Oh, he's on the ship. Yeah, we'll get him buried."
I did like how they had a moment where they said, hey, can we just go back in time and save him? So they reestablished that rule, and they made sure people knew that they can't just go back in time to save people every time they die. And also...
Except for Rip Hunter's wife and kids. We'll be able to save them, because that's the whole reason that Rip's doing this whole thing, is to save his wife and kids. So his wife and kids, we can
That's
save.
exactly what I'm saying. Don't think too much about the time travel
don't
rules.
think too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And two, we find out what happened to the body, because that was my big question. I didn't know if they just threw the body outside the time void. But
You're happy to
he's
know
just
it's
inside.
still on the ship.
I'm
have
happy
a-
to know there's a dead body on the ship.
Yeah, if we're
they
gonna have a
have a-
costume room on the ship, we're certainly gonna have a room where we can keep the dead bodies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, nice little trophy room.
So they're trying to figure out how to get Kendra's powers back, how she can read this and how she can remember all of these things. Another creepy guy move here, guys. He just expects her to be in love with him, and so he's like, all right, yeah, let's just make out now. Like, I'm just gonna lean in for the kiss.
I was hoping every single scene from then on will just be every scene where they have a conversation just ends with him trying to go in for a kiss, and it's just like, no, again, just stop.
Is this a move you guys have pulled before? Like the let's talk about how you're gonna end up with me, where destiny.
Oh wait, yeah, you've never tried the what part of destiny do you not understand?
Yeah.
Oh, I got it right. Okay, wait.
I say that all the time.
Give me the line again. What part of destiny?
First, you have to carry around a knife with symbols on it.
Oh.
And then you show the girl the knife with the symbols on it.
Tell her it's a
and then
love
it's
poem.
Destiny.
Yeah.
And it's a love poem.
Yeah.
Really?
I have a knife
says,
with a love poem on it.
Actually, it says like made in China, and you say no. This says like we're
means
in
we're
love
gonna be together for all of eternity.
This means we're destiny.
Destiny, and then you lean in.
Yeah. It was a really. We'll talk about the death later, but it was a really quick transition for me that she was so anti, and he did pull the romantic like I'll wait as long as it takes, but then by the end she was like, I didn't get to tell him how I feel.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I guess if you want to raise the stakes on the show and you want to kill somebody off, if you look at it, of everybody on the show, that's probably one of those two characters is somebody you can get rid of because
you still have one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
but we're not killing him off because we know he's back at some point.
We assume
he's back.
Well,
No, we know the
Mark-
same actor. We know he's going to be back. Unless it's in flashbacks or something, or him as different points on the timeline.
Yeah, it would have to be in different points because according to an interview with Marc Guggenheim that he said afterwards is that he does not reincarnate until Kendra dies, and then they both reincarnate at the same time. So
let's kill her.
At least this interpretation of Carter Hall is dead. But yes, as we're saying, since we're dealing with time travel, we can meet him various times along the spectrum.
Yeah, and my guess is I actually am kind of glad he's gone because I was getting sick of the only way of getting to know her character or his character is through this relationship that they had, and I kind of want to know who they are individually. Now, they didn't have to kill off a character; they could have just split the Hawks up a bit, and I would like to see like a Hawk with the Captain Cold and Hawk and Heatwave, even.
I would typically agree with you if we were talking about two people in this world and I was like, they're very dependent on each other. I would like to get to know these two people, not as a couple and separately, like if you guys were dating and I want to know you separately. But with this, they've been together for 4,000 years. I feel like that's when you truly are a team, if that's how long you've been together. So I don't mind getting to know you together because that doesn't seem like a need to know you apart.
Right, but that's the only thing their characters are right now is just a relationship. I want to find out what food she likes, just who she is as a person.
Well, yeah, and that is the general feeling that I have about the two of them as a unit as well. Like, you got a little bit of Kendra on her own on The Flash before Carter shows up. But once he shows up, it's essentially the same beats that the two of them are playing out over and over and over and over, and they're playing them really well. And actually, I think every time they play them, they're getting a little bit better at playing those beats. But it does feel like, all right, something. Even if split them up just so that they're playing different notes than they've been given over and over and over again.
Megan in the chat says, I think that Kendra was upset because he was the only one she could relate to. So maybe that's more of what we're seeing.
That's true.
It is a good point that we need to see different notes from them. Maybe we'll see him without her at some point. So, okay, I'm with you guys now. We have our third team that's out together.
Right.
Adam, Captain Cold, and Heatwave.
Made me so happy.
That the three of them were together?
Yes.
Yeah, that was great because I really loved seeing the Boy Scout with the bandits. It was that was amazing because they just really played off one another really well and were the opposites of one another.
I think that Brandon Routh just makes the best Ray Palmer.
Oh, he's great.
Absolutely.
Like he just kicks butt at it. Like every time, it just seems so earnest, his performance and everything he says. Like I kind of feel bad for him sometimes, and as he's still trying to be like good cop at the end there, and he's like, "What are you doing? You can't steal this stuff."
Yeah.
I love him.
I read an interview with him where he talked about how in Arrow his character would kind of show up and lead the group a little bit because he would just be, this is what we have to do now. I have the super suit,
and he's so excited about everything
and excited and do this. So it was an adjustment for him with this character in this world where he is just a member of the team, but he says that works a lot better for the character too because he can just play off people.
Sure.
And it's easier than to just be part of a team than to lead it, so he likes that.
Can we get behind the fact that Captain Cold and Heatwave went in here to do something for the team but also had ulterior motives?
in like a moral sense?
No, in like a we're watching TV
Yeah.
and we still can root for these guys kind of way.
Oh yeah, it made absolute sense. It would have seemed completely dishonest if they didn't have an ulterior motive, if they saw an opportunity there.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they said it right there from the first episode. It's like that's the whole reason that they were doing this, is that you can steal across time, which is the ultimate goal for a thief. So for them not to keep following on that kind of mission statement that they have set out for themselves, then I would be like, I wouldn't buy it.
Right. As a little bit of a side note, I'm liking some of these like little bromances we're seeing going on. So Heatwave's obsession for Martin Stein, I love that.
Yes.
Both weeks he's like, how do I get those roofies? And this week he's like, you're a weird kind of crazy. I like it. Martin's like, what? And then the Adam Captain Cold moment when the cage comes down on them, even though they were kind of at each other's throats, finally when he's like, you know what, you're probably not that bad. I'm liking these when the pairs break up from one another and find their...
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. And I think that's why I wanted more of that with the Hawk team.
Sure.
Because they're so together. And it's also great to just hear Captain Cold talk to Brandon Routh, because they have both that kind of classic superhero, supervillain kind of way of talking. That it was nice.
Well, and two, it's nice to see such disparate personalities even if they find it begrudgingly, find things that they can respect about each other, find things in each other that are familiar. So that moment where Snart is messing around with the wiring on the security panel, and Ray says, wow, it gives him credit for being a lot smarter than he would have thought. Says like, you actually maybe had a future in electrical engineering.
Right.
Whereas the previous episode, he's talking about how like you guys are essentially you're criminals, you're useless, terrible criminals, and I don't know why we should be hanging out with you. Now it's nice to see like, oh, well, maybe there is a little bit more to you, even if you're using it for thievery.
There was some major foreshadowing in that moment that you're talking about, as he does say you're a criminal, and then Snart says back to him, no, it makes me a survivor, and there's going to come a day you wish you were too. I felt like that was what they were trying to tell us would be the downfall of Adam as one of these team members, that he can't like do the morally thing.
The gray thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Where they take with that future. Yeah, because he'll probably have to darken a little bit, just as much as they have to lighten a bit, so they can kind of all meet in the middle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Were you guys expecting this to be Vandal Savage's house?
No, nice twist on that. No, for sure. So
I guess I don't think of Vandal Savage as someone who has
owns
a
a home.
house.
Yeah. Because
he's a lair. He's a lair kind of guy.
Yeah, definitely lair cave kind of thing. Yeah.
Zeppelin kind of dirigible flying over. I can picture that.
I was just shocked, and that was really cool to me. I love when shows shock you in ways that, and then afterwards I was like, well, duh. Like, what was the big risk here if it wasn't his place?
Sure.
But I didn't think we were going to come face to face with him episode 2 like that.
Yeah, that surprised me when he even like showed up, because I thought episode 2 was going to be a bit of a break from Vandal Savage, and they would just have some time moments. So even when he showed up in the beginning of it, I was surprised he showed up.
Well, I'm just glad to see, because we saw him first on the Flash Arrow crossover this past season, and I liked him there, but most of my enjoyment came from, wow, they're fighting Vandal Savage on TV. Isn't this cool?
Yeah, but nothing to do with actually is going on. You're just like, wow.
Yeah, it's like, wow, this exists. Awesome. But he never felt like that much of a significant threat to me.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice in these 2 episodes, especially tonight, watching the way Casper Crump is playing it. Right? Previously, I feel like the most threatening thing about the dude was the name of the actor playing him, but now watching the way he seems to have kicked up this level of like gleeful malevolence, like he's evil as hell, and he really seems to enjoy being evil. And
his voice, the embodiment of the character, everything. I agree.
I think about 100 times the charisma in Casper Crumb's performance that he was bringing before, and I was really glad to see that, because now I feel like I'm actually invested in Vandal Savage as a threat.
How do you guys feel about Vandal Savage?
Well, certainly back at the beginning of the episode where he's watching everybody as they're fighting inside that nuclear arms deal, and you just see him just like surveying everything that's going on and just kind of cataloging all these things. It seems like the first time, other than the Hawks, that he's seen just a large collection of people with extraordinary abilities all gathered around, and he's just kind of cataloging everything that he could use to his advantage.
I also like the idea that I think he was proud of the fact that people came from the future to stop him.
Yeah.
Because he's like, yeah, I need to be stopped. This is great.
Right. But again,
awesome.
showing us how smart he is that he put those pieces together that quickly.
I'm also glad he kind of killed Hawkman because it escalated the character even more, and you got to see that Highlander moment where he absorbed his essence or sniffed him in.
Yeah.
Huffing some hawk.
Huffing some hawk.
I'm with you, but I did think it was weird that he still had another half of the job to get done, and instead he as you said, did his little pre-dance.
Yeah. We noticed that in that scene, he kills Hawkman, and Hawkwoman's there. Hawk Girl. Sorry.
That's okay.
I think she should be. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'm just saying Hawkwoman sounds just as good. But Hawkgirl goes to Hawkman and holds him, and we kept thinking like, for one, it's weird that Hawkgirl isn't attacking Vandal right now to take that advantage. But okay, maybe she's emotional, so Vandal Savage could take that moment to kill Hawkgirl as well, but instead
he didn't.
He's off screen, and we're kind of just assuming he's like preparing himself for the essence of Hawkman.
Yeah. Here it comes.
It was an awkwardly paced scene, I thought.
Yeah.
I agree. I can go with it for two reasons. The harder part I have with it is, why is Hawkgirl not immediately turning and attacking Vandal Savage? I give you that.
And then we took a commercial break, and we came back, and she still
They're
wasn't.
still there.
Yeah.
But I can buy Savage not killing her in that moment for two reasons. One is I personally have never breathed in the soul and essence of another life form. I imagine
you
it
should
takes
come
a certain...
to my party on Tuesday.
I really recommend it. It's really
Yeah.
Then you guys tell me. I would imagine it takes a certain amount of focus and composure. You can't be immediately moving to kill somebody else when you got to breathe in the soul.
And it depends on the soul, really. But
Yeah,
this is
that's
an old
true.
soul.
Mm-hmm.
But then
I feel you.
The other thing I would say is, even if that wasn't a factor, in the grand tradition of the most comic booky type of villainy, I could totally see this dude knowing what Hawkman means to Hawkgirl, taking a moment and not doing anything except relishing in her anguish.
And also being in love with her.
And that too. Like, I could totally buy him taking a second to just soak that in.
Also, it could be seen as he gets a little bit more immortality every time he kills a hawk person, right? And then they reincarnate when both of them are dead. So him kind of leaving one alive is kind of just saving a bit and putting it in the freezer, so that you can have it later. Like, he's got enough to tide him over. Yeah, he can go for a little further and then
eat the whole hoagie at once.
Yeah. I love that Athy in the chat says he's probably like, hold up. Gotta suck in Carter's soul. Hold up. Production, everybody stop.
Oh, breathe.
Oh, Casper's got to suck in his soul again.
Yeah. Oh, God. He's always sucking in these souls. Worse than a smoke break. Yeah, thank you. I felt like that was one of my better ones.
Good. But now I like the idea that that's just something Casper Crump brought to the role himself. There were no special effects used in the soul-sucking sequence. That's just what Casper Crump does.
Yeah, he just made sure to give the soul back once they called cut.
Yeah.
That's once or twice.
Most of it. Most of the soul.
Yeah, so I did think that this was too long of a break, but then when he finally did stab her, for a second I thought, oh my gosh, we just lost both of them.
Right.
How long is it going to take them to frickin' find us again, or us to go find them? Did you guys think she was dead, or did you think she would be fine?
I thought she was going to stick around a bit longer. I didn't think she was dead right away, but I also know they're like skipping around time somewhere, so they could always just pick up another Hawkgirl and Hawkman somewhere.
Okay.
What you think?
It would have been interesting if they would have done that and then just gone to a different timeline and picked up a fresh pair.
Right.
It would have been interesting.
Because now it's weird because now that you have one generation of Hawkgirl, do they have to find a Hawkman that is missing his Hawkgirl? Because they're going to find a Hawkman that's already in love with one Hawkgirl.
We can't think too much about
don't think too much about messing up the time stream.
I'm not saying messing up the time stream. I'm just saying messing up a relationship from the past.
Yeah.
Well, I will say it would be an interesting way to reverse the dynamic that we've seen previously, because so far their interaction has been Carter remembers all this stuff and is trying to sway Kendra.
Now Kendra could be like, you love me.
Exactly. What part of Destiny do you not understand?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Ronald in the chat says, I was really feeling Sierra Renee, who plays Hawkgirl's breakdown scene. I thought she did a killer job with that, too.
That was probably the best she's done on the show
We
so
really
far.
got right up in her face with that close-up.
Well, one I was already dubious about when they bring her into the med bay, because we've seen so far that the med bay, not the most reliable med bay. It didn't do well with their son. So I'm like, it's pretty much just as much of a
Great at keeping corpses around.
Yeah, a traumatic wound as their son had. So
It's
I was
more
like,
like hospice.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Hey guys, for Carter.
For Carter.
Yeah.
I hope every single episode ends with them going, "Hey, should we go home now? Are we finally giving up? No, for this other person."
Okay.
Because the last one was for the son, right?
yeah.
And so they're like, for Carter.
Here is why this was called
Part
Pilot 2.
Yeah.
Because they needed to get to this end conversation where they were still wishy-washy on whether they wanted to commit to being legends.
Yeah.
I hope we never hear this conversation again, though.
I hope
Yeah.
so too.
I'm okay hearing it last week. I'm okay hearing it this week. But now you're in, and we cannot waste airtime with you guys
Just
discussing
commit.
whether you're in or not.
Right.
Right.
So I get why it was Pilot Part 2, or just Pilot 2. But now, all right, you're all
Everyone's
there,
in.
and everybody's
Right.
now there on their own free will.
Yeah.
Nobody's been roofied this time.
I do want to say, like, I need to see. We were talking about what characters are like separated from their group. I have to see. We got a little bit of that with the professor, but I really want to see that with Jax. Like Jax, all we know about him is he makes kind of a good walkie-talkie between him and the.
I would
the
definitely
professor.
like to see in an episode coming up, preferably sooner than later, give him a little bit more to do because he's been
Right.
very much in a big ensemble of supporting players. He's been what feels to me like a supporting player to the other supporting players. So
Yeah,
far.
absolutely. And I think that we have a lot of opportunity with him because he is so young to teach him and have him,
Yeah.
like they do in all the superhero movies and the team up movies. Like you have the young person coming in and everybody, like, who are they going to be most like? Which qualities are they going to take on? So I think that would be really cool to see. Does he go out one week with Captain Cold and Heatwave and
Right.
kind of gets a little edgy, and then he goes with Adam and is like, oh wait, I got to be good.
Well, whatever it is, he needs to work on his catchphrases because he's like, I don't just burn things, I blast things too.
Yeah.
It's like, oof.
All you need to say is I don't just burn things.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
need, then you blasted him. That's we saw it. We
Well,
got it.
he's fairly new at this, you know what I mean? Like, not every superhero can be Peter Parker and have quips like totally on point right out the
Right.
gate. So I feel like he'll warm. Oh God, I was gonna say warm up to it. We're gonna go. He'll get better at it.
He's heating up for sure.
He's-
Yeah. All right, guys. That covers the episode. Let's get to some predictions.
Yeah.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
The future
I don't know what that was. It was kind of cool though.
to predictions.
What's he doing with his hands?
I don't know. This is the fire.
So
I guess.
they're losing their minds a little bit. Too much time travel for them. Frank,
enough.
let's start with you. What do you got?
Well, I know that they talked about it, posted online today, a story about they're going to be meeting future Oliver Queen in an episode
Right.
where he's going to be missing one arm.
The goatee.
Yes, we goatee, more of like the Dark Knight Returns sort of Oliver Queen. So that'll be cool to see in that episode.
I am so phenomenally excited that that's the route that they're going. I don't know, you obviously know Dark Knight. Does everyone on this panel know Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you listening that don't place your hand and swear on Dark Knight Returns like I do, in that reality, superheroes are not allowed to superhero anymore effectively, and most of the heroes were okay about it. They addressed that Wonder Woman went back to the Amazons, Hal Jordan the Green Lantern left the planet, and Bruce and Clark, Batman, Superman, have this interaction where Bruce says to Superman, and Oliver, did he cooperate? And Superman takes a pause for a second, breathes in, and he says, that is not how I wanted that to go. And you see later in the story, Oliver Queen shows up missing an arm, and you take a second, you go, oh, Superman ripped his arm off.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I loved that. I don't know if that was quite a prediction, but it was a great sentence. Whatever
You
we're calling it.
sure did talk.
It was a great passion. I feel like you just kicked some days' butt. Yeah.
And my last prediction was still, as I said last week, when they go back and see Jonah Hex, we're going to see Hawkman back in
Right.
his incarnation as Tomahawk back then. So I feel like we'll see him in that episode.
Maybe that is a good way of bringing him back.
Yeah. So at least for that episode, we'll see him.
Cool.
I don't know if he'll continue on with him, but I think we at least get a little face check with him.
Dave, how are you feeling? And while you're thinking of this, I'm hoping in the booth we can get some Disco Inferno to go out with. Just saying.
I'm feeling good about this, and I'm excited to see where they go with this whole show. And I think we're gonna get Hawkman back. I'm excited to see what they're doing. On the preview for next week, we saw a little bit of Captain Cold looking at what looks like kryptonite. So what's the deal
A
with that?
lot of people were talking in the chat about that not being kryptonite, and that I'm with you. To me, that I don't know.
Well, I feel like when you're in the DC universe, glowing green rock is shorthand for kryptonite.
I know.
Or a Green Lantern ring, maybe. But that would be kind of a stretch. It was a rock.
It's a dead ringer for kryptonite. So either they're trying to make a swerve right now and have us think that, or I don't know. I really don't know. Any other prediction from you?
Did White Canary hold on to any of young Martin's weed from 1975?
Yeah, she grabbed 3 of those J's.
Yeah.
So
yes, they smoked all of them in the process of kicking some butt.
So the team up I want to see is White Canary and Jax getting high and hunting for donuts.
Right.
Cool. Any other decades we want to make sure we hit?
I want to see some I want to fight some Nazis.
Yeah,
I really hope they fight some Nazis.
All right.
That's on. I hope that's being planned.
Cool. All right. Any other?
Yeah, bringing the Spear of Destiny into World War II with that would be cool.
Yeah.
I want to go to the future.
I'm assuming we must be seeing more of the future at some point, even if we only see it in flash forwards, because I imagine that stuff's very expensive.
Yeah. Damn right. CW is like, guys, this is the most expensive show we've already done. By the way, this show is killing it in the ratings.
Nice.
That's great. That's
we
good
should
to hear.
say that, it's really good to hear, because otherwise I get scared.
Right.
Don't take away my favorite shows. They're like my
and
children.
Last minute nerd call out
Yes.
there, as Martin Stein says that he's the 5-time winner of the Carlin Award. Just a little shout out to Mike Carlin, editor of the DC line of superhero books there, Superman books back in the 80s and 90s.
Really
Nice
cool.
catch.
Yes,
really
that's great.
cool. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week. We will be back here, same time, same place, which is at 9 p.m. on Thursdays. If you want to join us live in the chat, I'm Roxy Striar. You can find me everywhere at Roxy Striar.
Lex Michael, find me everywhere at the Lex Michael.
Dave Child, find me at davechild.com or at mrdavechild on Twitter.
Frank Moran, you can find me at HappyGoJackie on Twitter.
And as always, on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and YouTube, wherever you are, give us that 5-star, that thumb up, write a comment. We read everything you have to say. You're the best fans ever.
5 stars, baby! Okay, roll those
From
credits.
executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.